Number 1.
One of my most vivid memories is from the beginning of my 5th birthday party in 1994. I went with my mum to the grocery store to get the cake, balloons, etc. We were on the ice cream aisle, me looking on one end and my mum on the other. I was totally in her sight for the whole time, but for whatever reason she kind of missed the whole incident. This couple, probably early 50s, approached me and started talking to me. The lady was overweight with a long, stringy grey ponytail. The guy looked like a trucker or something, shaggy hair and beard with a hat and big glasses. They asked me how old I was, and I was proud to finally say that I was 5 and that my birthday party was today. They asked me what my favourite ice cream flavour was, which was vanilla. Of course, it just so happened that they had a fridge full of vanilla ice cream in their RV that was parked outside the store, and that I should come have some to celebrate my birthday. Even my naive 5-year-old self was like, nope. They were gesturing for me to walk with them, and the lady even put her hand on my shoulder to guide me. I booked it down the aisle to my mum. I guess they didn't realise she was my mum because we weren't standing together. I told my mum what happened, but since she didn't see any of it, she kind of brushed it off. They must have gotten out of there pretty quick, because they weren't there when I tried to point them out to my mum. When we left the store though, there was a super scary looking RV in the parking lot. I am 99% sure I narrowly escaped some really weird stuff happening to me in there. At the time, it seemed kind of weird, but not that big of a deal. But as I remember it more and more, yeah, definitely almost got kidnapped.
Number 2.
I live in a certain Midwest city that's infamously known and scrutinized for its gang violence. No matter how great of an area my side of town is, I can't help but be hopelessly paranoid due to the media and how it makes one bad neighborhood seem like the entire city is horribly crime-ridden. As a result, I'm always aware of my surroundings and always on the side of caution. I nanny part-time for a family through school. It's easy, good money, and I get paid in cash. On certain days of the week, I'll pick up the little girl I nanny, take her to her after-school activity, and then to home. By the time this is completed, it's a little after 6 o'clock. Their house is located in a neighborhood that used to be considered the wrong side of the tracks about 20 years ago. You'd never guess now, due to all of the high-end retailers and million-dollar houses filling the streets. It's an interesting transition phase, where one block is filled with brand new mansions, and the next block over is run down and sometimes downright scary. So, even though it's getting pretty affluent, you still get your fair share of riffraff and break-ins. Anyway, I've never felt unsafe or scared on their street. It's small and not particularly well lit, but filled with families and townhouses. Their house is located at the end of the street, and when I reached it, I saw an old man standing in the driveway. He looked lost and appeared to be checking addresses. The people who live next to the family I watch for is an elderly couple from Argentina. I'd seen the man before, we call him Vovo, but really only in passing. I asked the little girl that I nanny if that was Vovo standing in the driveway, and she said no. He's standing in the middle of the driveway and moves to the side when he sees that I'm trying to turn in. These are all townhomes, and it's the city, so the driveways are only about a car length long off the street. I crack my window very slightly, even if he looks like an innocent old man. I'm not taking any chances. He comes up to my car and is holding one of those large cookies you can get in the bakery at the grocery store with frosting that says happy birthday. He asks me where Donna is and that he's come to celebrate her birthday with her. Confused, I tell him that there is no Donna that lives here, or a Donna that lives on the street that I can recall, and that he must have the wrong address. He comes closer and adamantly tells me that this is the address that he was given. I explain to him again that he must have the wrong place. Frustrated, he asks me to get out of the car and help me read the piece of paper with the address he was given. At this point, the little girl I nanny is repeating, I'm scared, from the back seat. I grew up with stranger danger constantly drilled in my head, and I go over the same routine with her often. We have a safe word. I make sure she knows her address by heart, just in case she gets lost. Tell her never to talk to anyone she doesn't know. You know, the works. My alarms are going off. Her alarms are going off. So I slowly roll up the window and back out of the driveway without saying anything to the man. He watches as I drive away and doesn't say a word. I turned on the next block and made my way back on the street just to check to see if the man was still there. Sure enough, he was. But this time at a few houses down. I was still feeling odd, so I kept driving and we stopped at a local Target just to kind of wait out for about 30 minutes. I came back and he was gone. I assumed he'd found Donna or he just gave up. When I pulled into the driveway, the next door neighbor was pulling into her garage at the same time. I went out and asked her if she had seen the old man earlier, and to my surprise she did, and our stories lined up. However, this time, Donna supposedly lived at her exact address instead of ours. We spoke to the neighbors at the end of the block and they also shared the exact same story, all with him wanting us to get out of the car or our houses to help him find the house he was looking for. That's when I started getting the chills. What I had choked up as a senile old man was probably some sort of a decoy for robberies or carjackers. He was trying to lure us out of our safety so that someone who was hiding could swoop in. As the weeks and months wore on, many robberies and sexual assaults happened within blocks of the house. One girl was walking and someone approached her for directions. Once she let her guard down, another accomplice from behind grabbed her and then proceeded to rape her in an alley. I hate to think, but it was probably the same team. Once, I was throwing out garbage in the dumpster by the alleyway during the daytime, and I looked up to see a bunch of men by a computer next door. Not knowing who lived there, I assumed they were working on something together. Later, I found out those men were actually robbing the place, and I had made direct eye contact with them. Again, I'm not sure if they're all linked, but it's terrifying to think about. I felt awful for even talking to that old man and putting me and the girl I nanny in any sort of potential danger. But nowadays, it's so difficult to figure out who really is genuinely asking for help and who has ulterior motives. I guess it's just the sad reality we live in.
Number 3.
This happened to me and a close friend of mine. We went to a sleepover at this girl's house that we went to school with. I think we were both 11 or 12 years old at the time, and this girl was having a sleepover for her birthday. She was part of our group, and we were very excited as we had never been to this particular friend's house. Her parents put on an amazing amount of effort into the party. There was a buffet, barbecue, cake, and even a clown. We were kinda embarrassed by the clown. We thought we were too old and it was just awkward. But that was nothing compared to the dad's party games. First one, 5 to 50 pence. He hid 50 pence pieces around the house and we had to find them. Only he was chasing us and hooting and really screaming, like a hyperactive child. Again, we were embarrassed, but the birthday girl seemed to be having a good time, so we pretended to be in the spirit of things. Then, there was the wish game. He wanted us to sit on his knee and tell him a wish. Now, I'm really uncomfortable, and I can tell my friend is as well, but the birthday girl's on her dad's knee, telling him her wish. Before we knew it, he's looking at my friend, patting his lap. At the time, I thought my friend put in commendable effort not to look horrified, but looking back, there's no way in hell he could have thought that she was comfortable sitting on his knee. She sits on his knee, mumbles her wish, and then it's my turn. Fool is me, because I thought I would get a pass being a boy, but no such luck. So I sat on his lap and told him a wish. Nothing very sinister happened, but the whole thing put me and my friend ill at ease. After that came the cellar game. That's what he called it, and I'm thinking, hell no, I'm not going into a cellar with this creepy old man, and I can tell my friend is almost panicking at the thought. But then, the dad takes up a rug and there's a trapdoor under it, leading to the cellar, and then I'm thinking, well, if that's not the coolest thing. So we go down into the cellar. And truth be told, it was pretty cool at first. The dad had a candle and that was the only light with the door closed. It was a small concrete room and we sat on the floor whilst the dad told us creepy stories. I got the feeling these weren't age appropriate stories and our parents wouldn't have been happy if they'd been there, and that made it all the more cooler. He's telling a story, getting to the creepy reveal part, and then he blows out the candle. We're plunged into absolute dark. I'm laughing and shouting, as is the birthday girl, and my friend is really laughing too. She actually sounds panicked. We get out of the cellar, and I'm saying how cool that was, but my friend looks really upset. Before bed, I manage to catch her alone and ask her whether she's alright. She tells me that after the dad blew out the candle, he tickled her in the dark and kind of put his head into her neck. She's really frightened and makes me promise I'll stay awake with her in case the dad does something. My friend is asleep, so is the birthday girl, and I'm really tired, but my friend made me promise, and the truth is, I feel like a knight in shining armor. I must stay awake to protect my friend, and lo and behold, I can hear someone coming up the stairs. Slowly, like they're trying not to make a noise, and then the door opens and the dad sticks his head around the door. He stays like that for what felt like ages, at least 2 or 3 minutes, just watching. He must have not noticed me, because I wasn't really trying to make an effort to pretend to be asleep. I'm watching him, watching her, my friend. He then walks into the room and over to my friend. He just stands over her, watching her. I'm completely freaking out, and despite feeling like a knight in shining armor 10 minutes ago, I now have no idea what to do. I can feel pin prickles behind my eyes. I didn't even realize I was holding my breath until I let go and made a noise. At this, the dad looks my way. I remember his eyes going really wide, and then he sort of just really scurried really fast out of the room. My heart was trip hammering away, and I'm looking at my friend, wanting to wake her up. I didn't though, and at some point I must have fallen asleep, because I woke up the next morning.
Number 4.
This all started in my last year of high school. I had really gone into the hardcore scene from my city and attended a bunch of small gigs with my best friend. One day, I received a Facebook friend request from a guy named Alan. Looking at his profile and the stuff he posted, I noticed he was just 3 years older than me, from the same city, and liked many of the bands I did. So, 17-year-old me added him. We soon started talking, mostly about bands in school. He was in the middle of getting his college degree, and I was about to choose mine. From time to time, he would tell me how pretty I was and ask if I had a boyfriend. I did find him attractive too, so I flirted back. However, I quickly lost interest, since a few minutes after flirting, he would tell me how he actually had a girlfriend, but they were having some trouble. I didn't want to take part in any cheating kind of stuff or such, so I just told him that he should do what was best for him and his girlfriend, and do the right thing. From then on, I limited my chats with him to music and school once more, and he too stopped flirting with me. Anyway, a month or so passed without texting when suddenly I got a message from him. We talked like we used to, and just before I had to say bye, he told me that he had broken up with his girlfriend and felt so much better. He thanked me for always listening to him without judging, and said that my advice had really helped him. I felt happy for him. I honestly don't know if this girl was really mean or not, but he seemed happy to be out of that relationship, and I wanted to be a good friend, so I was happy for him too. Now, at this point, I don't know what came to me. Maybe it was because I did find him attractive, or because it was very late and I wasn't making the best decisions. But I told him my best friend's birthday was in a couple of days, and that he should come to the party too. He agreed in a second, and I told him to meet me at the station close to her house. So, I finally got to meet him at the station, after almost a half a year of talking online. I know what you're thinking, and no, he wasn't a 50-year-old sexual predator. Although I must admit, I should have been more careful, since he could have been someone interested in taking my liver. Nevertheless, we met. It was a bit awkward at first, since neither of us knew what to say, so we just walked to my friend's house making small talk. I guess we were both very nervous.
When we got there, things got better and we actually had a good time, although he pretty much only spoke to me. For the next month, we kept going out for basic dates, until he officially asked me to go steady and we became a couple. From here on, the actual creepy stuff would start. It hadn't been more than 3 weeks and I was starting to feel anxious. It was a weird feeling that I used to have when I was a little kid and knew I was going to be punished for either getting bad grades or doing something bad in general. It was stupid though, because I was not a child anymore and I wasn't doing anything wrong. I just had this feeling whenever he was around me. What made it even more complicated is the fact that I didn't really feel he changed. He wasn't rude or anything. He was just unsettling. He would want to see me 24/7. We never went to his house, and whenever we were at my house, he would refuse to be anywhere else but my room. He would just spend hours staring at me, and I know you could take all of this with romantic intentions, but the way he made me feel was not warm and fuzzy, but instead shivery and anxious. I must admit, I took the first chance he gave me and broke up with him. He meant to text his ex some lyrics to a breakup/a love song and texted them to me by accident. He apologized and explained it was just to let her down for good. I had none of it. I told him that we may have jumped into the relationship thing too soon, and I thought that it was better if we went back to friends. That night, he called me 37 times. The next morning I had school, and through the day I got a text that immediately got me nervous.
"What time will you be at home? I'm coming to talk,"
he wrote. I really didn't want to see him, so I told him I wasn't sure and that he shouldn't go. He should just leave. Plus, we had only been dating for like 4 or 5 weeks, so why make a big deal out of it? Just let it die. I did in fact get home late that night, and oh surprise, guess who was standing in front of my door? He had a blank stare, and when I was passing by to park the car in the garage, he followed me with expressionless eyes. I went inside and left my stuff in my room, shaking. My brother came to me asking me what the hell was going on. He said Alan had been standing outside for over 4 hours now. I told him I would handle it, since he's my little brother and I didn't want him to be worried. I took a deep breath and went outside. We argued for around an hour, in which he would tell me he loved me and that he knew we were meant to be together. I told him I wasn't feeling comfortable and I just wanted to go back to friends. He told me to move in with him. For a few minutes, I was speechless. He used this time to explain how he would get a job and keep studying so I could finish high school and then get a job too. According to him, we would then start a business together and have our first child by the time I was 21. He had our life planned out and I had no saying in it. I managed to catch a moment to speak and tell him straight that he was out of his mind. I was only 17 and nowhere close to thinking about living with him, much less having a child. Alan then made this weird face, like he wanted to cry, but not actually. I swear, it was like a cheap acting trick, and it just creeps me out even more. I cut him off, told him we were over, and ran inside. From here on, he got worse and worse. He would text my friends even if they had no idea who he was, and tell them to tell me that I needed to be with him, where I belonged. I blocked him from all social media since he would send me non-stop messages and post weird poems that had a hint of scary things like,
"I stand in the dark so you can't see me, but you're the light so I'll always see you."
He called my house, and if I pick up he yells,
"I need you,"
non-stop. If anyone else does, he just hangs up. Now, this kept happening for almost a half a year, and I know you're thinking, why didn't I call the police? Well, I think I failed to mention that I'm from Mexico City, and I can promise you no officer is going to take any action against a few dozen phone calls. I don't even think they know what to do. Little by little, the phone calls stopped, but he was still texting me and dedicating me songs in an online radio station most people from the hardcore scene listen to. This one particular time, he dedicated Your Betrayal to me. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Alan became unstable. He would go from dedicating me love poems to insulting me, saying that I was ruining his life. I honestly lost account of how many crazy and scary things he has done in these past years, but I think the worst of them all was this one time a year ago when I went to a concert with my best friend. I was kind of flirting with one of the musicians that opened for the band, and my friend was playing wingman. He went to get some beers, and just as he stood up, and I turned to chat with my friend, I saw two figures take the empty chairs in front of us. It was Alan and a girl he introduced as his sister. The moment my friend and I saw them, we froze. A mix of being uncomfortable and scared got to me, and I just looked away.
You cut your hair.
He broke the silence, reaching for my bangs. I instinctively pulled back.
It looks great on you. Everything does.
He spoke in a soft but numb voice. I nodded and told him I was with someone so he should leave the chair. I looked to his sister to encourage her too, but she was absent-minded, playing with her phone.
Do you want a paper flower?
He asked, completely ignoring what I said before. The guy I had been flirting with was making his way back, but since he saw two other people now in his place, he just drifted away. Dude, you seriously need to get away. I was losing my patience, but I didn't want to make a scene since the concert hadn't even started and I wasn't getting kicked out. Once again, he ignored me and started making a rose out of a napkin. Let's go over there, my friend suggested, and I took her on the offer, or so I intended. Alan's sister, who suddenly lost interest in her phone, was now grabbing me by my arm and keeping me from walking away, not saying a word, just grabbing me. I tried to loosen myself, but before I could, Alan took one of my hands and put the paper flower in it. Then his sister let go. Now, for what happened after this, I must say two things. One, I'm known for being maybe a little too aggressive, but when it comes to people whom I cared for any point in my life, I have a soft spot. And two, Alan had been beyond creepy, given that he had now been around 3 years and he wouldn't leave me alone, but he had never been violent. Both rules were broken that night. I snapped. I took the flower he just gave me, and looking him straight in the eyes, I slammed it against the table so it would lose any shape it had. You're not a good guy. You're a creeper who won't leave me alone and thinks I owe him a relationship. I whispered close to his face with an anger I don't think I had ever felt. My friend and I pushed through and made our way outside for a smoke and to clear my head. We were chatting, I was shaking and she was trying to calm me down, asking me if I was feeling better and telling me that if I wanted to leave, it was okay. Then we heard the screaming. At first, it was some bottles falling and a couple screams, so we thought someone messed up and they were mocking them. But it didn't stop there. The yelling continued and we saw the bouncers at the entrance rush inside. I quickly put out my cigarette and headed towards the commotion with my friend. In all honesty, I was hoping to see just another bar fight, but it was worse than that. There were 2 tables knocked over, and I don't know how many broken beer bottles on the floor. A bunch of personal articles from a backpack were being poured onto the floor, and the person responsible for all of this was no other than Alan. Quickly enough, one of the bouncers restrained him as the other one searched him for any potential weapon he might have had. His sister, on the other side of the small venue, screamed at Alan and the bouncers some stuff that I couldn't really make out since there was a lot of noise. As they literally dragged him out, I was pushed outside by the crowd and stepped to the side, speechless, watching Alan curse and kick. I had never seen him this violent. In fact, I had never seen him violent at all. Then he saw me.
See what you did to me?
He yelled at me, but since a small crowd had formed around, people thought he was just on drugs yelling nonsense. My eyes started to fill with tears. Maybe it was because I was scared, or because I still couldn't fully understand what was going on. What could I have possibly done to him in order to make him like this? Thankfully, my friend found me along the crowd, and without even asking, she dragged me to the subway and back home. I cried all the way. I haven't seen him ever since, but I know he's still around. How so? Well, I live in Japan. Been living here for a year or so now. It was my birthday a few months ago. and I got a big bag of roses with a card that read, "I shouldn't have given you paper when you deserve the real ones. Happy birthday, my love.
Alan.
Hey guys, it's the Grim Reader here. I hope you enjoyed listening through that. If you did, please slap a like, and if you haven't already, why not subscribe to be notified of future uploads? If you have a story you want me to narrate, please send it to my email in the description box. Once again, thanks a lot for listening.